Yeah, sure. All right. Let's do it then.
Ready as we're going to be.
Really? I mean, we could have said that like on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Depends on
I
how
like
long
that
it
Jeff
takes.
is the one that said ready, yet he doesn't have the video queued up.
Video cue.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing.
Oh,
and
this
ball
guy
club
is
culture.
so bad.
It
I was
doesn't matter
wondering
what
why
kind
we'd-
of Limit Champ or Lucky
You
Track
did
Dog
this.
League you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
This is Jeff.
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers, and I mix it up. I just pick a random one. Welcome to a Koenigsegg Algira RS episode, Algira or Algira episode of our podcast, because the 6.6 million Koenigsegg. I don't
Koenigsegg,
know.
No
Gag, gag,
excuses.
gag.
You typed it
Come
that
on.
way. You
No, you
typed
did-
it that
Oh.
way.
Did
I
not.
I did.
Oh, damn
Has
it.
Come on.
a 278 mile per hour top speed. And of course, this is episode 278. So if you aren't driving a Scandinavian supercar, then embrace the E1R bingo card that the link is in the show notes. Tag us if you get bingo. How's everyone doing tonight? What are we working on?
Just Ducky.
Just Ducky. Metal, what you working on?
Actually not much. But this past weekend, I helped Dwayne Wick pull the engine out of his Porsche. That was tagged on our social medias. That's really about it.
Cool.
Missed it. What kind of Porsche was it?
It's 911. He's got a
911.
71 911. It's not quite. It's actually nothing like an Outlaw. It's very meticulously done. We had Dwayne. You and I had Dwayne on the
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
and Chris and Chrissy couldn't make it.
And I know
it's-
he has some sort of shop, so I didn't know if he was doing somebody else's car, if it was his.
No, well, and it's not a professional shop. This is his personal shop.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he's got a very nice a street track aesthetic on that car. It was selected for Luftgeld, but literally the comedy, you can find all that on the Do or Die podcast, how he didn't actually make it into the show. Anyway, helped to pull the engine out. He just needed a second set of hands in there.
Air
I thought
cooled or water
those-
cooled?
Oh,
Well, 71. so it's
71.
air.
Oh, okay.
Fun-
I missed
fun
71
job.
part.
Yeah. So isn't that like 4 bolts? Takes about
Yeah,
20 minutes.
basically.
Yeah, and then just making sure that all the different cables and wires are disconnected, and then just slowly, and it once we got it all rolling, it took about 20 minutes, and it was 4 main size bolts, and he's done the Hamsa thing where any sort of weird or stupid fastener, he's replaced it with something much more normal and common and accessible. But you're just getting it under the car. You had a set of quick jacks, and then you having to lower and slide to get it out from underneath the car without dinging anything, because he's got all the 10s painted. It's a good looking engine. It's a good looking car.
Basically, it's a 6-cylinder Beetle. You just pop that sucker right out.
Never say that. Never speak to us again. 6-cylinder Beetle. Ah,
Mhm.
Oh,
Anyway, Chris, what you working on?
nothing.
Or TIG welding. TIG is a lot slower than MIG, especially when you're not especially good at it. But fuel cart's coming along. The actual frame of the fuel cart is all done. I'm just now adding the wheels and including the framework. Well, I see the framework for the front wheel. It's a tricycle gear setup. So, but everything else is done. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly square. It's not perfectly level. But I'm learning how to TIG weld, and it'll be great at hauling our fuel cans around.
Nice.
we had
Uh,
multiple offers to help you electrify that thing, and I think it was some of our listeners got confused between this one and the beach cart.
Yeah, the beach cart's going to be electrified, and I already am pretty well set up on a kit for doing that, because I'm trying to take the easy button on that, because it's not about figuring that out. It's about learning how to weld aluminum. So yeah, but I've officially gone
thank you,
through a
everyone.
tank of argon. So I am going to get another one of those. And
Just get the big one.
well, buying the big tank's a lot more money than the
Yeah,
small
yeah.
tank for how often I'm really going to use this thing.
That's true.
Like right now I'm doing it
Just
almost
using it
every
right
day.
now.
Right. After
Right.
this, it's not going to be all that often.
Professional vagabond and slightly not very tall, sort of homeless person, Giant Dave, chimed in and said he was definitely interested in come helping you electrify because he's like lives off the grid and that's
yeah.
green truck of his. So
He also has a condo.
well, sure, is he ever there? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, Jeff. Do you have any big extra tanks from all your old man garages you cleaned out?
No. 'cause
Oh, there's
my
a place to look.
grandfather turned in his oxyacetylene tanks.
Okay, just checking.
So, I mean, I have my one argon tank, which is slightly larger.
Yeah.
that I love.
Just checking, because with all the crap that you complain about taking from old men's garages, that's the kind of thing you might have taken.
I do have a little oxyacetylene set up with no torches. I have the bottles, but no torches.
Okay.
Why? You will never oxygen
Because
acetylene
exactly what he
anything.
says. I was cleaning out somebody's garage, and it was like, these can't be
Understand? Not
transported by
asking
trucks.
how you got it. Asking why do you still have it?
Because
I mean,
Jeff,
have you seen his house? You
Yeah,
haven't seen his
really.
house, especially lately. That's why, because Jeff. Yes.
I might need it
Guys,
someday.
I might be cutting up a car.
And you will never
Guys.
use an
You didn't-
Guys.
oxygen
You
torch.
didn't
will
cut
get a
the last
plasma
car
cutter.
up. You're not going to cut this one up.
Yeah, if you
Guys.
do, you're going to use a sawzall.
It's true.
You're not wrong.
100%.
Yep.
Hey,
Okay,
Chrissy, what you working on?
a while Chris has been in the garage because I have nothing to do with TIG welding and I can't stand next to it or I got sunburn. I have been cleaning out my closets. So I have been on a kick of I have too much stuff in closets, some of which is nice clothes that I can't wear at my current job. So rather than getting rid of him, I just moved him into another closet. But the other closet has all kinds of stuff that I'm not wearing. So we went kind of on a rampage, or I went on a rampage, and Chris followed me around and made piles of trash and Goodwill and costumes that don't belong upstairs that belong in the box downstairs and just all over the place. So yeah, when you can clean out your closets, but then it's even go deeper. Clean out the closets that have those save the suits and dresses for later closets. Yes, that's what I did.
I'm
Vicky,
singing the
that
Eminem
was-
song in my head. I'm just
Vicky did that a couple of years ago. She cleaned out the business attire. And it was there was a local charity, that's trying to help
Yeah, we got to find one of those.
impoverished people that are trying to make like the transition
Although,
or like basically they don't have interview clothes.
sure,
And,
yes.
and donating that stuff gives them interview clothes.
The funny is I laugh only because Chris got rid of, a couple suit jackets that his father or his not stepfather-ish, whatever he is, wore, one of them being a double-breasted one-button jacket.
should have
So-
saved it for me.
Yeah,
I-
I mean,
Wow.
Yeah,
How
someday
big
you're
were
gonna
the
need
elbow?
that.
How big were the elbow pads?
they
Yeah.
they
Not
weren't
that
there was
big, but
no there
still.
was no elbow pads.
Shoulder
But
pads.
anyway,
How about shoulder pads? So-
Well, I'm
Yes.
sorry, shoulder. Yeah,
there were
'cause
some shoulder pads.
one button double breasted. I immediately start thinking, this is not my beautiful house.
I was gonna go there too. Someday you're gonna need that for a Lemon's costume, and you can be like,
Someday
"Damn,
that
why
could
did I
go.
get rid of that?"
Well,
And he will
then
spend
I'll go to
$10
Goodwill
at
and spend
Goodwill.
$20.
Again, get it back. Yeah.
Fine.
So yes, so we found a bunch of things. You're just like, oh, that suit jacket and that suit jacket. Oh, don't I have one that just looks just like that over there? Yeah, that's what the game we played. Anyway, moving on. That was not car related, but that's what I did. I encourage you to do the same. Jeff, what are you doing?
Well, you remember I nearly shocked myself and set a fire on my bench with my bench grinder. So I had to dig out the bench and replace the wire on the grinder. So I did that. And then it got cold. So I cleaned the garage enough that I can get the engine hoist into the garage so that I can like mate the motor and transmission combo actually in the garage no matter what the weather is. But then I ran out of time, so I didn't do anything else. I did hang a TV on the wall, so some painting and things went
Wow.
on, but
That's great.
that's like at midnight. I'm doing that while everybody's trying to sleep. I'm like painting and sanding and things. So yeah, so
that surprises
a
me.
big hole in my garage. You were just making fun of my garage. I now have a big space that I can almost work
That
in.
you can fill with something quickly.
Well, I'm going
Hurry
to
up.
because I'm going to bring the engine hoist in, and then I won't have enough room. I won't even be able to walk in the door once I get the engine on the hoist. So
So like you said, Chris, he cleared out a spot and he's going to fill it with crap.
He
Crap
created a
that lives in
vacuum.
the yard.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
Nature in Jeff's garage.
And I would like to say that it's like some sort of giant achievement, but it's actually what I do every time this time of year, because that's the hole that the snowblower lives in. So instead of I made the hole, and then instead of bringing the snowblower in, I'm bringing the engine hoist. So there it is. That's what I was doing.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Is it?
No, not you.
Why?
It's Chrissy sounds better. She's got the echo.
Oh.
It's nighttime.
It is fun. Mental. Did you get to CES this weekend?
I
Past
did
weekend.
not. It's funny because I had some news and notes in here about CES car related stuff. And
Did I steal your story? I apologize.
no, I had a much better one, but go ahead with
okay. Mine was much better than yours, Jeff. Well, if you don't know, the CES is the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. Each year, it's where the new phone or computer or TV or whatever is hot comes out in the electronics world. But in the past couple years, they've held a car race, an autonomous car race. This is the second one that was held at CES in Vegas at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. If you're not aware, the history of autonomous vehicles, DARPA, which was like the Defense Department, began offering prizes and to help
Defense
develop
Advanced
the
Research
technology.
Project
Exactly.
Agency.
They've been doing that for over 15 years. And, you know, if you drive a Tesla or any other self-driving car, it's kind of where that technology was born. Well, several years ago, Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Energy Systems Network took over the challenge because DARPA stopped offering it and made a race with open-wheeled Indy-style cars. They're actually made by Dallara. This year, 9 teams from 17 universities raced at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the winner was Polymove, a group from Politecnico di Milano, which is like basically the Milan Polytech, and the University of Alabama won the race and set an autonomous speed world record at 180 miles an hour on the oval at Las Vegas Speedway. 6 of the 9 teams made qualifying laps, and then they moved into a one-on-one passing exercise, kind of like you might do at a HPDE, where leader passes the passer, and then they switch places, and then the leader passes, and they just basically kept ratcheting up the speed until one car could not make the pass, and they went head-to-head in a bracket style. And yeah, 100, they made a pass an autonomous vehicle made a pass on the oval at 180 miles an hour past another autonomous vehicle. Nobody crashed. There were definitely some spins, some teams that got eliminated in some spins. The videos are all over the internet, but I figured we should go read about it. So I will post 2 different links. One talks all about the competition, and the other one talks about the win and has some video on it. Check it in the show notes. Yeah, these are like full-size, full-power Indy cars. I mean, maybe not current generation, but these are not these are not little things. These are not little skippies. These are big.
Wow.
Okay. Do you trust a robot to drive your car? After you heard Jeff's story right there.
Right.
I mean,
Is
yeah,
this
they go
exciting?
180. Sure, why not?
Oh.
Guess
I don't
so.
Well, some of them's fun too. Well, how about trusting a robot to get you out of a speeding ticket? Mehul Rubin at
You have my
firstpost.com,
attention.
Right. Tells us
Right,
that the future is here.
Mr. I get tickets. Yes,
Yep.
go ahead.
Do Not Pay is a legal services chatbot that was originally built to contest parking tickets. But next month, the service will be arguing a real case in lower court under an accessibility law loophole. The defendant is going to be wearing a pair of AirPods. They will be told everything that needs to be said, and they just need to repeat what they hear. The founder of the 2015 company is doubling down. Because programs or AI bots can't argue a case really any in the world because of legal technicalities, Do Not Pay is offering $1 million for a lawyer to act as a proxy and argue a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Right now, Do Not Pay's program costs just $36 a year, could offer a very friendly out-of-pocket option
Sign
for those
Jeff
who don't want
up.
to put up a fight or who are the last in their class at law school. Really more than just parrot prompting for the speeding ticket case, the program performs data crunching in precedent cases to prepare the individual's defense and even can respond to questions raised in court. So knowing how highly unusual this is, Do Not Pay is ready to take on the burden of punishment if the AI's device doesn't help and will pay the speeding ticket.
Yeah,
Okay.
but are they going to pay the your contempt of court go sleep in the jail for like a weekend?
Why would you have contempt of court?
If you're cooperating. The accessibility line that is a very lawyerly loophole.
That
It is.
very
Yeah, I was actually, I got turned on to this listening to a podcast on the way to work. And that was the funny thing is the lawyers had to find a way to make it legal to wear AirPods in court. And that was their guideline is you don't actually have to be handicapped. It's accessibility on that one.
Wasn't there
Yeah.
like a Shakespeare play with a guy with a big nose?
It wasn't
Yeah,
Shakespeare,
keep
but
going.
it says,
There was, but
yeah,
Sarah
Sardo.
version. Yes,
yeah.
I know what it is. I know what the
What?
reference is. I was making a joke. everybody.
What?
No,
Never
because
mind.
jokes are
Oh.
funny.
So confused. Okay.
Oh. Ouch.
okay.
See, go ahead. Save.
I'm
It's a sick
trying.
burn.
You guys are talking. Okay. All of the racing organizations have released the majority of their calendars for next year, and that includes a show favorite series, Gridlife. Cameron Nouveau at Haggerty gives us a little bit more insight. For 2023, their 12 race calendar will be broken down to 2 6-date sub schedules: the Gridlife Festival Tour and the Gridlife Club weekends. I kind of wish I knew this before I went to one. From the 9-year-old race series, the festival tour will feature an elevated fan and spectator experience along with Gridlife Touring Cup points races and will feature a live broadcast. The Gridlife Club weekends are designed for a more that feel more like a typical club racing events, with an emphasis on track time, paddock experience for drivers. Highlights for festival weekends include car shows, a concert, drifting, and concourse that will include Watkins Glen, Mid-Ohio, the return of Lime Rock, and new this year, Laguna Seca. Time Attack, Track Day, Endurance, Focus Club weekends, and JMP, Streets of Willow. I did not know that they broke these things up. I expected a party
This is the first year.
Oh.
Now, last year they had them, but they didn't label them as well. And I
Yeah,
think
correct.
your experience is what led to.
Correct. That's
They
good.
decided to define it instead of just going, we don't have a party for this one.
Right? Because I walked around and I was like, the whole garage that is normally full of parties at Lemons, completely not one single person in the garage. And I was like, this is not a party weekend, I
feel
suppose.
like I was misinformed here.
And then the four of us, the Fishers and Chris and I, sat in front of the Mazda in the dark. Yep. Talked
Yep.
for a while, got eaten by bugs, went to bed. That's how our race weekend went. So excited to see
sorry.
that.
Well, and then Mental's like, I went to Gridlife. I saw Ludacris. We had a party, like.
Right. So
Yeah.
we just didn't realize they were broken up. So I think this is a fine way to do it. This is setting expectations appropriately. So happy to hear this.
Love it.
Sorry, I'm leaning over. We obviously are going to be talking about toe pigs in a minute. And if we're talking
Obviously,
about shopping
nobody
for toe
knew
pigs-
that
Nobody
yet.
knows that. We know that.
What?
The
I'm
listeners
sorry.
don't know that.
I put my obviously in the wrong spot. We're going to be talking about shopping for toe pigs in a minute, which means obviously
Okay.
we're going to talk about racing junk. And when we, there we go.
I'll share. Oh, there you go.
All right. Now, for a mere $14,000, you can have this beautiful Chevy Kodiak. I found it. It really is probably the ultimate
What?
Wow.
Lemons conversation piece. And this is where I'm going as soon as my cursor catches up, because I'm trying to get the big picture. Come on. Why are you fighting me on this one?
Because your computer is as old as that Chevy Kodiak.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I feel like that's an accurate statement. All right, there we go. That feels like
That's
better.
good.
It's a little better.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So people of a certain age, like, well, basically me and Jeff, we remember the Joie Chitwood stunt show. It has been
Yes.
traveling around the country for over 50 years, jumping and crashing various GM products in the late 70s, early 80s. There was even a toy set
What?
with a Chevette that, goes through a tube. Their signature piece was jumping through this giant pyrotechnic tube. I even found a picture of a Camaro doing it later in there, and you can own a piece of that history. And that is where this Chevy Kodiak comes in. It's Doug Danger and Joie Chitwood's Chevy Thunder Kodiak Toterhome, 1990 Kodiak chassis, 250 horsepower turbo Caterpillar diesel, 10 speed with air brakes. It will cruise at 70, which is a thing with some of the Top Kick and Kodiaks is they get limited. It's got the custom Silverado cab. Of course, it's got a CB, good buddy. It's got an electric brake controller inside.
Better have
got
a CB.
Queen bed. It's got a double sink. It's got an oven, a shower, stovetop,
And
refrigerator.
for the
tongue and
audio
groove ceiling.
listeners, please describe this interior.
America.
This is Evil
Red-
Knievel
Yeah, red
pukes
diamond.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
red
I like that.
diamond tuck vinyl
Upholstery.
for the for the dinette set.
A lot of American
Curtains.
flags.
Oh my
Blue,
gosh.
Lot of-
blue stars on white walls,
yeah.
pine ceiling.
Wow.
Actually pretty
Pines.
nice.
Oh, the ceiling's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's a lot, is what it is. This is a lot.
It is, but it comes with it's got a portable toilet. It comes with your dishes, your pots, your silverware. It's got updated cushions and quote in all caps in
clock.
the ad, it is ready to go. It is registered as a motorhome, which in certain
course.
states does not require a commercial driver's license. So you don't need a medical or anything like that. It is in Florida and it's only got 120,000 miles.
And it's a fifth wheel. So if you have a fifth wheel trailer.
Or
You-
if you
you
want to
want
go
something
crazy and do one of those big semi things, it's got that kind of setup on it too, but I wouldn't, because you've got like no turning radius on it. So yeah, you could get just like one of those giant fifth wheel style trailers on there.
Huh.
So why did we recommend that? Well, because it's on Racing Junk and it's always free to browse and think about like how much cool, dumb stuff you could do with that thing at a Lemons Paddock. Always free to post ads. RacingJunk.com, the official classifieds of the Everyone Racers podcast.
Yeah, I know we're making fun of the decor there, but it's actually not bad of a price.
Here's the thing is, yes, it's terrible decor if like you were
But
living
it's not
in it,
even
but
that
it is
terrible. It just needs a little update.
hilarious. It's hilarious
It's a
for a Lemons
period
thing.
piece.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's
And-
clean.
It's a
It's not,
showpiece.
it's
Right.
not chewed up. It's not nasty. It's in good shape. It's
Oh, it would tow the F out of whatever you needed to tow.
I
Too.
mean, look at the
and
look at the
everyone would come
green
hanging out in there.
the green camper that was on Bring a Trailer a couple weeks
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
Camelot Chalet.
Yeah.
The same way that's a period piece, but this will tow much better than the Ford 391 gas one and the Camelot Chalet. It doesn't come with snowmobiles, this one, but still same kind of
Dude.
vibe of
Oh, absolutely.
of its period.
And everyone in the Lemons Paddock would be like, this is the coolest thing ever.
It would be it's a showpiece is also what it is.
The showpiece you can actually tow with. A listener feedback time. On the YouTubes, Slowbolt. I
Yeah,
hope I
the
pronounced that right.
Cobalt racing team.
Got it. Slowbolt said, "Great video." This is in response to our like how
Last
to
week.
get started in driving one, or things I wish I could have told my younger self. Great video, guys. Wish I would have told my younger self to get out on the track sooner. I regret spending so many years working on other people's cars where I learned a lot, but I miss out on a lot of the fun of
He
driving.
said he doesn't regret spending those
Oh, it
years.
it says I don't regret spending many
Yeah.
years. Sorry.
Big change. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I don't regret spending many years working on other people's cars where I learned a lot, but missed out on the fun of driving. Should
It's a
have
good
done
one.
both.
Situation.
We didn't talk about that. On the gram, Mental went Sassmaster 3000. One post about the Chinese New Year of the rabbi elicited all of the Monty Python quotes you would expect out of our diverse and educated listeners.
And the other post was a screen still from the 1974 Sean Connery sci-fi classic Zardoz, a film that Chrissy has never seen. It also indicates that the great and varied experiences of our exceptionally good-looking listeners, like
sorry.
So-
Tim Berman said that looks like engine swap attire.
Why didn't
Well,
you say
if you were on, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I don't
If you were on Sorry for Party Racing, perfectly normal engine swap attire. Go ahead, Chris.
Actually,
Maybe
probably
it's too
like
much.
I was trying to do the quote that I didn't remember that I was told that I was supposed to do.
That's later, Chrissy. It's down on the bottom. Great.
we don't plan our jokes like that, people.
No,
Brian
no, no, no.
Davidson and Life Beyond the Woods said, "What do you mean start dressing like that?"
Bib 55 asked, "What's Vicente Fernandez doing there?" And for those of you who don't know, apparently there's a guy named Vicente Fernandez who's a mariachi player. He looks strikingly like 1974 Sean Connery.
Oh my
So,
gosh, he does.
right. Yep.
Oh my! If you're not watching on YouTube, we are looking
Oh,
at the
you guys are
Wikipedia.
so deep. Goodness gracious. Chris M said, I mean, Halloween costume picked out already.
Yeah. Fiasco Rally wanted to know if it was Jeff or Mental.
Why can't it be both?
Definitely mental. I mean, I would wear it. I just wouldn't look like that.
Hold on. Can I stop you right for 1 second? I'm going to admit something funny. I looked at this team name or this screen name and did a Scrappyard Fuji's because it does. I don't know. I was going with Fiasco Rally. I was trying to pull it apart in a different way. So I just had to just admit that I pulled a Scrapyard Fuji's in my head and I did not tell you.
I
There you go.
love that that's a verb now. Pulling a scrapyard.
Yes.
I pulled a Jeff is what I did.
Fine.
11% Racing added, "We know you browse the GRM meme thread," which yes, and I encourage everyone listening to do so. It's again the opposite of doom scrolling. It'll just make you chuckle all day.
Mhm.
I'm supposed to cough. Hey, Mental. Zardoz takes place in 2020-93. Check your memes.
2293.
22, what did I say?
Show
2093.
2093. Check your meme, fool.
Check your
It's
meme, fool.
wrong. That's it. This
Is,
didn't go very
this,
well.
this is all from the please stop hot linking pics
hard.
thread.
No,
Yeah.
there's a meme one too,
Oh,
separately
okay.
from the hot linking
The
pics.
hot linking pics thread has been going on for like 15 years, hasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep, all because one guy said, "Hey guys, stop hot linking pics. That's not cool because it uses someone's bandwidth." And everyone's like, "Okay." Ding,
Oh,
ding.
Hot
Yeah.
link
Forever.
pic. Hot link pic. I haven't really hung out in the GRM forum in a very long
Chris
time. But
is there 95% of the
that
time.
was my crack.
Chris was there 2 days ago trying to buy parts to a Lotus 7. That
Good for
somebody was-
him.
Lotus
Wait,
7.
what?
It was
What?
local. It was local.
What just
I'm
happened
so
here?
excited to hear this.
Oh my gosh.
It's not.
What?
It's not main topic time.
Because you know what? Because you know whose jokes never really go as poorly as the set we just had?
You know who saw Zardoz when it came out in the theaters?
I don't think she
I'm
did.
not touching that. Oh.
Chrissy's mom. Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Oh, hi, Mom. Okay. Now it's main topic time.
Yeah.
Now it's main topic time. Yes. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Just to show how old I am and when I was last really hot on GRM's forums. I was also hot on DSM forums at the same time. So that's how old that is.
Shows your age.
Main topic time.
already
Toe
said that.
pigs.
Pick one
Who's
out.
gonna start up?
We've
Mental's
talked-
idea. So,
Right.
yeah.
We've talked about trailer loading. We've talked about trailer upgrades. We've talked about how to tow a trailer, what some of the terms mean. But now that the used car and the new car markets are starting to settle into somewhat normal, some of you might be looking to upgrade or even purchase your first tow pig. And if we do this right, which so far we have not, we'll be here to help. So we're going to talk about just some considerations. If you're like me, when you go shopping, you're like, what's the cheapest thing that I can get the most from? And particularly with a tow vehicle, that is probably a terrible approach. So we'll give you a couple of starting points, some terms, some things to think about. And if you've got some advice for any of our listeners about purchasing a tow pig or some evaluations or considerations, absolutely get a hold of us down there in the doodly doo. Get a hold of us on any of our social medias. Let us know.
Someday, after Mental's had a couple beers, ask him to tell you the story about towing home a BMW 6 Series with a first generation Hyundai Santa Fe on a utility trailer with single axle. That's a good story.
From
Totally
Michigan
fine.
to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Oh my
Safe.
God! I didn't realize you did it that far.
Totally safe.
Yeah.
Totally
All right.
safe.
Let's go some basic terms.
Okay.
You're going to
do
need
it.
to know. Gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR. This is the maximum allowable weight of the vehicle when fully loaded, including everything. If it's on the tires, it counts in this, is what it comes down to. You drive
Including
it up,
your fat ass in the driver's
your-
seat.
the fuel, your beer cooler, whatever, everything in it, it counts in the GVWR. All right. Next one, gross combined weight rating. This is everything on the tow vehicle's tires and on the trailer's tires. So it's the combined weight of the whole combination. Yeah, when it's fully loaded. This is not the tow capacity. This is the whole rig together
the
capacity.
truck and the trailer
and the
your
cargo
gear,
and your fat ass and your beer
and your
cooler.
fuel. Got it.
Yep, you name it. Okay. Gross vehicle weight. This is the actual weight of the vehicle at any given time, including all the fluids, passengers, cargo, accessories. Varies greatly. Tongue weight. That's how much weight from the trailer is on the hitch of the truck. Whether it's a fifth wheel or a gooseneck or a bumper pull, that's how much is on there. Cargo weight capacity is how much cargo the vehicle can carry from completely empty. So it's basically the gross vehicle weight rating less the gross vehicle weight. Like how much does it weigh? How much is it rated for? That's your cargo capacity. We need to know these things.
I would like
It's a
to
lot of
object.
Go ahead.
Yes, me and Jeff for the sake that no one told us to be math.
Just only a little math,
Truth.
small math, addition,
And all
subtraction.
all
You
these
can do it.
letters sound the same. Why didn't they call
Yeah.
them something different?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of them are gross.
I mean, that's sure, but that's not helpful when I need to know, is it the total weight or is it the not total weight? This is in the notes. I'm just concerned.
Well, and that's a valid point right there, because you can get the gross vehicle weight rating on the door, but bear in mind it's averages that one passenger to 150 pounds. You can get a more accurate by actually typing in the VIN number of the vehicle, and that will talk about all of the factory accessories that are on there and the rear ends and all that other kind of stuff, and it will actually give you a much better, more accurate. But then consider any accessories that have been added on. For example, a rhino lining is going to add weight to your vehicle.
Yeah. Or that 50-pound weight distributing hitch. We have to pull in and out of it every time
Yes.
you're doing that. That thing
that's
is
a thing.
really heavy, but that counts
Yeah.
on your tongue weight. That counts in your vehicle weighting. All of that matters.
It's funny. I
Um,
never really thought about that counting as part of the tongue weight.
Yeah.
But
it's
it
weight
totally
on the
is.
tongue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So Chris, you said several times, and I'm going to ask you the next part of the question is, you kept saying this is not towing weight, tow capacity. So
Yeah.
give us what is towing capacity then?
Towing capacity is how much you're allowed to tow, or how much the manufacturer has recommending you tow. And that's based on a whole variety of things. And actually, in the last several years, towing capacity has gotten a little more accurate because they have a specific test they have to meet for SAE to get a towing capacity. And from what I understand, a big portion of it involves how it is able to maintain cooling and speed on a certain hill in Arizona.
Yep.
In the summertime.
Yep.
So know that some of it may be relating to that, but just it's amazing how particular equipment changes towing capacity of the same chassis. Like, for example, the GMT 800 Suburban towing capacity ranged anywhere from about 7,000 to 12,000 pounds, depending on exactly how it was set up. And that is a massive difference.
Yes, I was actually going to talk about this. So if you want me to jump
Right.
in. So, yeah.
Well, sure. Just last thing I'll say before you do is,
oh, go on.
is this isn't just pickup trucks. This is all kinds of things. And we'll talk more about the different choices that it can be. Like it could be, pickup trucks is what people think of, but SUVs, it's a lot of them are just pickup trucks with a wagon on the back. Like it's what our Escalade is and a Suburban has been.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are unibodies, but are set up to do this. Like a Porsche Cayenne is rated for 7,700 pounds. Same with the Mercedes GL and GLE. Even vans like Transits, I think, are rated at 7,000 pounds. Mercedes Metris, little van, little 2-liter diesel, but it's rated for 5,000 pounds.
I was going to say the Metris is the little one, right? We're not even talking about the Sprinter.
Yeah. And something like an Expedition, you get a 2-wheel drive Expedition with the EcoBoost, 9,300 pounds. Like they can tow a lot.
Oh.
You don't just have to have a pickup truck, even though everyone in the world, in America, not in the world, they'll tow a car with a Geo Metro practically, but here everyone needs an F-350 to tow their 13-foot Boston Whaler. So
yeah, or a pair of jet skis. Oh, I need 3,500.
Right.
A dually.
But RVs can be good tow vehicles though too. And I know Jeff, you and Mental have both towed significantly with your RVs. You guys want to, but one of them's a Class A, one of them's a Class C, so it's a different kind of experience. So you guys want to talk about what it's like to tow with RVs, and we'll just touch on that briefly now and move past it because not too many people have those.
All right. Jeff, you go first.
Sure. We have a Class A. It is a Ford with a V10, the old V10. It's a slightly older Class A. It's I don't even know who makes it. It's a Winnebago version.
It's a Winnebago, like 33 or something like that.
Yeah. It's a 33
Sightseer.
Sightseer, exactly. Thank you. So it is a like high floor box, and it has a tow rating that I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm really sure I'm slightly over it every time I tow. It does not have a brake controller, but it does not need it because it way outweighs what I'm towing. But actually, it might have a brake controller. I just don't even have a clue where it does. It has that. I don't think it does. No, I don't think it does have a brake controller.
No.
So anyway, so it is one of the big things about towing an enclosed trailer. We all have enclosed trailers. I mean, Mentos, the whatever, he's got the current one, but he had an enclosed with the big box. It's a giant.
That's not an enclosed trailer.
Well, you had the half magic.
Yeah, but
It's not enclosed.
it's not even remotely enclosed.
Yeah, very
that was
different.
a fully open with a box. And
Yes.
and Chris is
Yeah.
The
and
aero
that's
load
why.
is
Yeah.
so different on so different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's really what I'm talking about is the aero load. When you're towing with an RV, you don't really have that aero load. Well, you have it on the windshield instead of on the trailer. So it definitely tows different. You never really need to worry about width because the RV is just as wide as the giant box trailer. The only really issues we have is it is a ginormous land train, and you need to be really careful because it takes up a lot of space, and a lot of these racetracks are on really windy small roads out in the middle of the country, and it's that last 5% of the trip that sometimes can get a little scary.
Or construction zones in New York.
Oh man, we okay, can I tell you a dirty little secret? And I know you
Shifting
guys know this.
anytime that they've got shifting lanes.
Yeah. You guys know this, but so when we tow back from New England on Saturday or on Thursday driving to the racetrack, I avoid New York City like the plague. Midnight on Sunday, you can find me on the GWB. Doesn't bother me.
Well,
Literally everyone who does not live in the Northeast has no idea what the
So
GW
the George Washington Bridge.
You know,
I drive
that's-
straight through Manhattan. I drive the
that's a smart-
RV.
That's a smart choice because going home, there's no toll. So that and the toll on the GWB is way more expensive than the
Oh.
northern bridges.
I think that my college loan is about the size of what it would cost.
I agree.
Yeah.
Especially to take a trailer and an
An
RV.
RV with a
and a
2-axle
Oh,
trailer.
it'd be
trailer.
$70 maybe.
Yeah, easy.
Maybe more. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
And
lot.
it is a
New York.
2-axle. It's dually in the rear, but 2-axle. And like I said, I have no idea what the rating is.
I just looked it up, Jeff. It's 5,000 pounds.
I was gonna say I would bet it's 5,000, and I'm probably a 75 to 8, probably.
Yeah,
Never had any trouble.
totally legit.
But,
It's
but
not
Bethel,
the right
talk
answer,
about your
but-
experience because your RV is definitely more normal.
So
sized.
mine's a Class C, which is it's a U-Haul box truck with a camper put on the back of it. Now I've got the wheelbase and I've never had to worry about that. But one of the things with a Class C is I was rated for 7,600 pounds, but that is total. And I am 100% certain that I have exceeded it probably anytime I put a car on a trailer on the back of that, just because with the janky half magic trailer made of depleted uranium, the weight of the car, and then any gear carrying to and from in the back of there very quickly started exceeding that.
Fill that up.
Yeah. Now, luckily I never have to, cross any scales or anything like that because none of that from a legal standpoint doesn't matter. But in living in the South, unless I was headed up to New Jersey, it was usually towing across something flat, but you knew it was struggling and you knew it when you had to stop. So you don't do that because it was just stupid, but
Just don't
usually
stop.
Yeah.
Just go around people.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I don't ever want for brakes. I want for some smallness and stability sometimes.
One thing about Class C is that mentally yours is actually particularly good because it's a Toterhome. It's designed to have stuff in the back so that your extra wheelbase matters a lot. Some Class Cs, they just extend the back so far that the rear axle
Yeah,
ends up being
big
the
tail.
middle point of the thing. And so you think about the leverage. If your rear axle is almost in the middle of your RV, the leverage on that back is huge, and it's just probably overloading your rear axle.
And
in
with the
addition to that-
Toterhomes, with the toy hauler setup, I have overloaded the back of it because I can tell with the responsiveness of the front end at speed.
Yeah, but it would be much worse if you had one of the long extended backs, which oftentimes are not done with strength in mind, because most RVs are put together with toothpicks and sticks and
Yeah.
staples and glue.
Yeah,
Hope-
let me
hopes
say
and
something else
dreams.
about RVs. And my parents have been RVing for a very long time, and it's actually their RV that we're using. Some RVs are really made for the road, and some RVs are made to kind of stay close to home. And you need to know which one you have. Will anyone ever tell you which one this is? No. But the bargain basement RVs that that are gonna fall apart. They're not made as well as some of the other kind.
They're made for
And-
people to have 4 long weekends a year. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and so before this becomes, how to buy an RV, but let's
We'll do that another week. You sure?
but and that's on RV towing. But let's get back to the central thing. So we're looking at what are your considerations if you're looking for a new tow vehicle, you're looking to upgrade your tow vehicle.
Yeah. Let me jump in back here because I wanted to talk about tow ratings. And
Absolutely.
Chris hit it right on the head. There is a drastic difference in which F-150 or which F-250 or which whatever you're looking at. Some models, even though you're buying the same year and the same model, can be drastically different into what they're able to tow. If you're shopping, and I shopped not that long ago, I found the towing guides that are produced by Trailer Life and Good Sam to be absolutely indispensable. I just discovered that the Trailer Life website is no longer publishing these free on the internet. So they're still out there everywhere. If you Google the model year and Good Sam or Trailer Life towing guide, you'll find it. I'm going to show what they look like for the YouTube listeners here, YouTube watchers. So this is what they look like. They are giant books. They have ads. They talk about brake controllers. But what you're really looking for down at the bottom is the tow ratings of every single vehicle in all the different configurations for that year. What I'm showing on the screen right now is the 2020 guide. And here, you can look at I'll just zoom in here. Oh, can y'all see that? Nice and big?
Yep.
So, like, I'm in the F-250 area, and you can see that the tow ratings are varying greatly. 12.9, 15, 20,000, 18,200, 1540. These are all F-250s. So, there's a drastic difference between 12,500 and 20,000 pounds. And all of these letters that you see here, FHT, FP, LPT, these are all different things that you'll get in your Ford. And you can see there's every single Ford on the planet is here. And when you get to the bottom, you'll see that all of these letters mean something, whether it's a fifth wheel, which transmission it has, which motor package it has, whether it has the
Which
towing
wheelbase.
package or the not towing package. So
Yeah.
2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, all of this matters. And when
Ford on their own
see a-
publishes a very nice tow guide of all their stuff too. So some manufacturers will give you all these specifics as well. This is great though for everything.
for everything, yeah. And I want to, because you're shopping, you want to cross shop, and you're going to want to go over to the Nissan page, then go over to the Toyota page, and then go to the Chevy page, or just look up what you're looking at. You're looking at something on the internet, and you're like, oh, it says max towing is blah 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 blah, but max rating is if it is optioned 100% for max towing. So case in point, my 2012 Nissan Titan had a max tow rating of 9,400 pounds. That is the 2-wheel drive, crew cab, big tow package. The 4-wheel drive crew cab is $9,300. The non-big tow could be $7,300 or $7,400, depending on the cab configuration and two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. That's a big difference. 7,300 pounds or 9,300 pounds is a tremendous difference in the ability to tow. And that's literally just options apart. Same year, same make, same model, same body style. So that's why I think that trailer life thing is indispensable. And since I'm finding that some of them aren't produced anymore, I'll be saving all of them onto my shared drive in case the rest of them disappear. But they're all out there.
Okay. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thought that I have to this, there's a lot of letters and let's get to the theory. Let's take a step back and figure out, what do you need to use it for most? I think people are like, oh, I want a truck.
I want the biggest one.
You want the biggest truck. Do you need that? But let's take a thought process of, what are you going to be carrying most? And both of the trucks that we've had, we've kind of done the when are we going to use it? Why? And how much are we going to put in it? The thing that I'm getting at is that we usually stuff it full with stuff for the race. So when we bought this new truck, when we bought the Escalade, one of the things that I cared most about was, how am I going to fit all of we have a body size cooler, which is usually full to the brim, very heavy. All the boxes of all of the paper products and the food, and multiple tables, and just filling it to the brim. So all of that has to go somewhere. And it was, the other options we were looking at is just the Mercedes, and there are a couple other options, but all of that couldn't necessarily fit in the truck. Well, I said, well, if it wasn't going to fit in the truck, we have to still put it in the trailer. But all of this still adds up. Those pounds still have to go somewhere. So you can get something that everything will fit in the truck, but then we couldn't hold anything in the trailer. So that's the kind of thought process that we were doing. Also, truck versus SUV. One of the few things we wanted in trucks, or why we wanted something with a cab, because we'd like to be able to put stuff in it and leave it there, and be able to kind of use it as storage sometimes. And so that was helpful to think about how big and how much we could fit in our truck with some kind of back non-open, and not a cab like Jeff's topper to his truck.
Absolutely.
Go
You
ahead.
also sleep in your truck, which I would never
Yes.
have the ability to do.
You
I mean, I guess
could.
one person could sleep in the back seat, but
Oh, I
you
was
know what
thinking
mean?
just slide the bed right. I mean, your truck is always full of crap, so you couldn't really. But if it was empty, you could slide right in
Yeah,
there.
but who has an empty pickup truck at the racetrack?
True.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody. Yeah.
And not even at the racetrack, just ever.
In general, stuff.
In
It is
general.
a storage unit. So.
It is a storage unit, but it's a
And I-
smaller storage unit than ours.
And you are extremely organized with everything you bring to the track, and you guys are basically the linchpin of the team. So you're bringing all of the infrastructure that allows a
Correct.
3-car team to function and feed each other.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean anyone listening to this that you have to get an SUV. You may not be the infrastructure person. You might be you bring everything that's smelly and dirty. So
Or if you're just bringing tools, figure out, but tools are heavy. So you have to figure out, like, if I'm bringing all the heavy things, then you got to figure out how much, and I'm not towing or I am towing, all of this adds up. So I
Mhm.
think that's where you just need to think about, not what do you think is prettier, or not everybody thinks that way. Whatever is that the brand that
I would
you
argue
like,
that, yeah, I think that people do think that way. And the purpose of what we're talking about is you're going to have to break out of that thinking to get the proper vehicle to safely haul what you need to haul, and to do it in comfort. If you can't keep your gas cans in your trailer because you've got an open trailer, you might need a truck. Otherwise, you're going to stink up your Escalade or something.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
and I'll say that I chose pickup truck because I wanted a pickup truck. I wanted an open bed where I could throw the 55-gallon drum and take it to the fuel,
you can't
or a
though.
dirt bike. And then I got that stupid cover on my bed, and I was like, I'll get rid of. I'll
Yeah.
swap that out. It's been like 4 years. I've never
I
swapped
was
that
gonna
thing
say
out. I've never
4 years.
taken it off.
Yeah.
So, when you're buying used, Like really think about how you're going to. I love what Chrissy said. Think about how you're going to use the vehicle and get it configured the way that you're going to use it. I never daily drive my tow pig. You two daily drive your tow pig.
Yeah, we do.
So an Escalade makes a lot more sense for y'all than it does for me.
The
Plus,
reason
I'm a
we-
dirty, foul human being, so you don't want me.
Completely.
In, yeah, you don't want me in the leather
100%.
anyway. But
Go ahead, Mental.
And I was going to say this later, but this is a good time to work this in. What is the non-race weekend duty of your tow pig? Are you going to be hauling your kids to school? Are you going to be hauling the scout troop down to the campsite? Or are you going to be commuting in it by yourself? And it was just one of these considerations when I bought my first real tow vehicle after the incident from Michigan to Oklahoma. It was a good deal on a standard cab F-150, and it met all of my towing requirements at the time. And it was a nice truck, and I enjoyed driving it. What I did not account for when I bought it, and it wasn't a big deal, but it was just something I didn't think of. I went from driving a BMW coupe to an F-150. The cost of my commute doubled. So if you're going to be driving this to and from, how far do you have to drive? How far are you going, to and from? Or is this going to be your daily, or is this going to be the one that has to drop the kids off at daycare, that kind of thing? Are you the youth group? Are you hauling your family around in this one? These are all considerations as to, do you want a truck? Do you want an SUV? Do you want a minivan? Because there are several minivans that are capable of hauling a car, but not much else on an open trailer. So work all these things out.
In addition to that, part of what we brought whatever we had, the Yukon XL. One thing that Chris had suggested that we did use it for is loading so much we could hold a piece of plywood, right?
Yeah. When we bought it, we were doing a lot of work in the house. So fitting a 4x8 sheet in the back with the door closed, really handy to pick up building materials.
Yep.
yeah, I just need to leave my hatch open.
And your gate down, and
I just stick it out over the tailgate.
Yeah.
Unsafe. Okay, Chris,
Yeah.
we've not let you talk.
Ah!
Do you have ideas?
No,
sir?
it's fine. Well, you guys have said all the things I was thinking about using. Like, we bought the Escalade because we wanted something that like we can kind of go through some of these things. Well, actually, let's do the stories at the end. Let's keep going with some of this other, and then figure out how the stories fit all these things, which is good.
Sure.
So, you're towing. We're talking about tow vehicles because you're towing a trailer, and your trailer makes a massive difference in what kind of tow vehicle you need. If
Love
you're
this.
like Mental said, if you're towing a Miata on a single axle aluminum trailer, you could probably get away with a minivan. Cool. All right. If you're, you want a big enclosed trailer, no, you are absolutely at full size and maybe even heavier duty, or at least bigger engine if you're towing with that big wind sail behind you. Just a normal, Civic on an open trailer. All right. Steel trailer. You can get away with the lightest duty half tons. No problem. So what is your trailer? What is your likely expected tow weight? And I'm just going to use our situation because I've got specific numbers and we know how to use them. So that's good. Our expected tow weight is about 7,000 pounds. Based on the aluminum 20-foot enclosed trailer, the Mazda, which is the heaviest car we're regularly going to be putting into it, the toolbox, the generator, the spare tires, the tire rack, the hub stands, 8 cans of fuel, spare parts, including all those brake parts that are heavy, the air conditioner, the battery, Scooty on it. There's a lot of stuff that adds up. So even though the trailer alone empty only weighs like 2,500 pounds because it's aluminum, realistically, we're probably at 7 by the time we're done with all that stuff. And that's not a super heavy car. This is not a Crown Vic. It's only a Mazda. So.
And I'll say that the number that I used was also slightly educated because, when I bought the trailer, it said, the sticker rate on it gave the weight. I know what the weight of the cars are because we've measured them. And then I've estimated the extra tires and the tools and things. I have a regular V-nose 20-footer, not aluminum. Yours also has the high roof. Mine does not.
Yours has the nice heavy axles though, which I wish
it
I
does.
had.
Has the 7,500 pound axle, or 2 3,500 pound axles for a 7,000.
You have 2 5,000.
2 5,000 pound. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. So I think I think I'm probably closer to 7,500 to 8 on a given weekend.
Mental.
Go ahead, Mental.
And not to call out my co-host, I have actually done this. If you don't actually know, or you don't have a solid estimate, or even if you think you do, coming back or on your way to a weekend, stop at one of those giant Travel America truck stops that have the big cat scales and get these numbers for real. It should cost you about 30 to 40 bucks.
Or if you have corner weighting scales, you can do it at home.
I think you might exceed some of them, but yes. And do this. One of the mistakes I made when I bought the Janky Magic trailer is I weighed it while it was still attached to the Suburban, and I had the Suburban off the scale. But as I was texting my co-host and I said, "Hey, it only weighs this much," and Chris goes, "Did you leave it attached to the truck?" Yes. And he goes, "The truck is bearing part of the weight of that." So make sure there's not like 6 semis that need these kind of stuff for their next weigh station. But if you pull up there and there's not a line, pull up, disconnect your trailer. It's an investment more of time than money, but it will actually make all of this math easier when you have real numbers rather than estimated numbers, especially if you are considering basically dropping twice the price of my first house on a pre-owned tow vehicle. You're going to want these numbers to be right.
Okay, Chris, you go first.
And when you do so, it's a great advice, Mental. They usually have different sections of that, the scales. Put your tongue jack on one section of the scales and your axles on the other section of the scales, so you get a tongue weight rating while you're doing it.
Great advice.
Oh, that's smart.
So let me say something here just about, because we're talking about shopping and we're talking about purchasing more than we're talking about how to measure and things, because we'll probably do that in another show. We talked about how to do tongue weight.
Well, we did
show.
the how to set up your weight distributing hitch that
Exactly.
one show. So yeah.
So I'm going to say that you shouldn't shop minimally. Mental and I already discussed slightly overloading our RVs, and RVs are giant vehicles with really big
Wheelbase.
Wheelbase.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're both driving V10s in our RVs.
I would never overload a 1500 or a smaller pickup for long distances. I made fun, like we literally joked about it in our RVs, but I would buy a truck combination that is more than I expect if I was shopping. And the reason I would do that is because you want some wiggle room. Maybe you get a heavier car. Maybe that jerk off is trying to sell a
bathroom
Rolls-Royce.
counter. There's a bathroom counter tendency to fill the empty space, I've got all this extra towing capacity now. Yeah.
I mean, sort of, but you don't.
It's like Jeff's garage. There's a vacuum.
Exactly.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
Nature abhors vacuum. But what I'll say is that you would rather have more towing capacity than less, because just like Chrissy talked about how much you put in your truck, just like Chris mentioned, the total capacity, all of those things are really, really important. And having more truck than less truck is helpful, especially if you're not daily driving it. It's just your tow pig. It's just your weekend car. Why not get a little extra?
Yeah, if it's just
Don't
a
go
tow
crazy.
pig, there's almost no harm in doing that. It's when you have to have a compromise that it's a challenge.
Exactly.
And finding the right compromise. So, all right. So we talked about trailer weight. We talked about now tongue weight. We talked about now cargo weight. This is cargo in your truck, not just your trailer. So all the things Chrissy mentioned, we're putting in the back, the body size cooler, the 3 boxes of camping stuff, of camp stuff, the helmets, the 5-gallon jugs of water that we're going to need, you name it, all in the back. How much does that all weigh? Because you need to know if the vehicle can safely handle all that weight that you're going to put in it and on the hitch at the same time. So your trailer, it's got the same weight kind of ratings as the truck. It's got an unloaded weight. It's got a gross weighting of it fully loaded, and then, actual weight at any time. So you want to make sure you're below your total weight rating. So, which is mostly determined by your axles, because the axles on a trailer each have a weight rating, and it's usually 3,500 pounds for most smaller trailers that we're kind of talking about, but they do have 5,000 pound ones, and they have actually 7,500 pounds. So you can get 1, 2, or 3 axles. You can get all kinds of stuff. but that's really how it's. If it's a 5 lug, it's probably on a normal car hauler, it's a 3,500 pound axle. If it's a 6 lug, it's a 5,000 pound axle. If it's an 8 lug, it's a 7,500 pound axle.
Mhm. And they're usually full floaters with the bolts on it and everything.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Since you're talking about total weight, can I just talk about tires real quick?
Please. Tires
So-
are very important.
Yeah, tires are really important. And as soon as I started towing, Chris said, "What kind of tires are on there?" And I was like, "Oh, big chunky off-road ones." And he said, you need some E-load range tires." And I said, "What the hell is an E-load tire?" And you sent me a couple of links, and I just wanted to say that real quick, what that is, E-load is a 10-ply tire. That's a rating. It typically is 1,520 pounds per tire at 80 psi. That's kind of the standard, but they're not all 10-ply anymore. Chris, is that true?
Well, it's a rating. They're usually like 4 plies. 10 ply was way back in the day when they actually we're loading up the plies on the thing. And that's how you do it. But now it's the same weight. We still call it a 1-ton truck, even though it has a 4,000 pound payload capacity.
Exactly.
It's still a 1-ton truck.
Yeah. So E-load, which used to be called 10-ply, or some people still call it 10-ply, but it's the rating, it's weight rating. So if you have 1,520 pounds per tire at 80 psi, you can multiply that, because we're already talking about how much your rig weighs and what's in it and everything like that. But you need that because that tongue weight is squishing those rear tires really hard.
It goes up a lot
Yes.
more than that, Jeff. Like a
Was it?
lot. For example, my old Yukon 2500, that was 7,000 pounds just at Chrissy and I in it.
Yeah.
Let alone, and a couple other, like, a trailer hitch and a couple spares. And the gross weight capacity on that was like 15,000, and the payload capacity was like 2,500.
Yeah.
So
this is
realistically,
why you need-
that truck could hold 10,000 pounds of between it and the things in it. So the tires were definitely more than 1,520 pounds each.
Oh, that's
So
the
if you're
minimum.
so if you're eyeballing those 24-inch low profile Carolina squat
Th-
tires,
this
like
is what
I
I'm
know,
saying.
Yeah.
like I know, not
Yeah,
one
I
single
like them.
listener of this program is ever thought of in their life would be cool.
Yeah, rolling
Don't
on
do it.
24s.
Those
I
people are
roll
stupid.
on 24s.
You got the Carolina squat, which makes your already blind vision
Yeah.
even more useless. You can't call anything. Yeah,
Those guys think towing trailers are so cool. They make it look like they're towing an invisible trailer all the time.
Exactly.
It's
And-
amazing.
I'm just saying that if you're towing heavyweight, go get those E-loaded tires.
Totally.
You're going to need them. Are they going to ride a little worse? Are they going to cost a little more?
Yes.
Yes.
Because
And
they're super heavy.
But they are available in all those light truck sizes. You're going to be able to get it to fit your F-150 or F-250 or whatever. The next load rating, I believe, is H load, and you're not going to find that in normal sizes. So
Well, you've other ratings you're going to consider is D rating, which is like it's a truck rating, but it's not as heavy as E. And then you've got your normal P rated, which comes in regular and XL versions of P, passenger rated.
Yep.
But the reason they're so much better for towing is that the air is what it does. The air in the solid tires makes them they don't move, because it's 80 psi in a really stiff chassis. So like I'll use our examples, the Yukon XL 2500 with 265 70 17 E rated tires and big beefy leaf springs. The back end of that never moved, ever. Just didn't move. Where the Cadillac on 285 45 22 passenger tires, they're
Dub
the
dubs,
XL.
Dubs, yo.
They are dubs. They're only 35 psi is the rating for its load. The back end definitely moves a bit more on that, no doubt. That's been the trade-off, one of the trade-offs for that versus the old one.
I remember, and I don't. What tires did you have on the Rover, the Disco?
Those are E-rated BF Goodrich
Okay.
all-terrain TAs, and those were sturdy.
Yes, and
and
you had actually also upgraded the brakes,
I had, yeah. But the pads, they were a kind of a towing
I'm sorry.
pad.
the towing pad.
But the brakes on the Land Rover Discovery are basically the size you get in an F-250. They're enormous. So it had plenty of pads, but I wanted something that was going to hold up to the heat because.
And that was a key thing, because you warned me this, and still every morning when I had to leave, if I had to leave for work before 5 a.m., there was a 4-way stop right down the street from my house that was usually exhausted. And I would always forget that you told me those pads need heat in them. And I would sail right through that 4-way stop with my foot on the brake every time.
Oh, fitting.
Yes.
If I was up cognizant, like on a normal time, I had my coffee. Oh yeah, I've got to start braking way back here. And it was just that first stop. Every stop after that was fine but they needed heat in them because they were upgraded pads for towing, which is another consideration, I think, as we start getting into just some of the additional things. Once you've kind of got the neighborhood of tow pig you're looking for, some other things that you're going to want.
Yeah. Brakes are really important. And let's talk about brake controllers. You're going to be towing a big truck, a big trailer. It's going to need to have its own brakes. Like, sure, there have been times, especially with the old truck, where the brake controller, something happened on it and I had to deal with just the truck brakes, and it did it. It wasn't real happy about it, but that's because that truck was kind of overkill for most of the things we were towing on a chassis wise. So you need a brake controller. And fortunately, most modern tow vehicles have this built in from the factory, which is wonderful because it can able to use all the nice sensors on them to tell you how much braking it's needed, send the right voltage, and it just works so smoothly. If you don't have that, basically, if that was an option on anything you're considering, find one with that. It's totally worth finding one with that option already built in.
I've never had that.
So much better integrated than anything else. If that was not an option on yours, you know, it's at least find one that was pre-wired for a brake controller. And if it's not pre-wired for a brake controller, it's probably not up to towing a car, frankly, unless it's really old.
I like that
So
idea. Everything
from it's made in the last 20 years. If it's worthy of towing a car, it is pre-wired for this, and then you can buy a harness. And that's what I've done for the last 2 trucks I've had, and for other things too. You plug it in, and there you go. Now you've got all the wiring in place to do it. And then you buy a brake controller, which realistically you need to buy a proportional brake controller, not a time-based one. And it needs to be a Takansha Prodigy or a Red Arc. Those are your choices, basically.
What's a Red Arc? We all run Takansha. So.
Yeah, it's an Australian one. I saw Hamza's got one. The box is basically entirely hidden behind the dash, and it's just kind of a little knob with some colors and stuff on it that you change and things. And now they even have all kinds of Bluetooth ones. But anyway, Takansha Prodigies and Red Arcs are the what you want to get. So
yeah, I was gonna say I did my first tow vehicle, the Black Magic truck, was not pre-wired, and it was a 1500 Yukon, and it was a pain in the ass. It was a royal pain in the ass to wire that thing. The next 2 trucks I had,
Jeep XJ with it way back in the day. So.
Yeah. And you had to splice in the brake lights and the brake switch, and it's a pain in the ass. Ever since then, the Avalanche 2500 and now the Titan were both pre-wired. One literally already had a place to plug it in, just needed the pigtail, and the other one had a place under the hood, so you just had to get it there.
Yep. And then brake pads. I mean, this is modifying your tow vehicle. Now, if there's options for bigger brakes, get the bigger brakes. Give yourself room to stop. Give yourself overkill.
And a lot of times when the tow package, we talked about what options. The tow package usually is more cooling, more brakes, different transmission if possible.
Different rear end ratios usually too.
Yes.
And I'm going to jump in here because that's an excellent segue. One of the regrets we'll talk about with my RV, it's a great RV. The transmission only has 4 gears. And when I'm towing, I spend a lot of time in 3rd gear, very high on the RPM range, which is absolutely killing my fuel economy. So I don't like to tow with my RV. So another decision point, if you can get a towing package with more gears or a more appropriate transmission or a better rear end gear, default to that, because you will save money in the long run. Barring that, you can get ECU and transmission retuners to retune your vehicle to tow, which is especially good if you're going to be doing double duty. It's going to be your daily driver, and then you're towing it you're towing it, and you need to be able to switch back and forth from a fuel management program to a towing program. And I feel like that leads into, how often are you actually going to be towing the vehicle? Chrissy.
Totally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you see me?
Yeah.
Yes. You were going to tell your story, your Hamza story?
Oh, I just thought, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're not towing it very much, this was a question to you guys. I don't know if that was, yeah, one of our friends, Hamza, who's been on the show, doesn't tow so often, so he rents a truck and he loves it, and he thinks it's like he's giddy by. It was very large at Jolie, I think.
It was, yes.
Yeah, so he just, yeah, instead of buying it, just rent it. That could be-
Enterprise commercial vehicle rental rents heavy duty pickup trucks, including diesels, dualies, then they expect you to tow with them.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to have something like this around to go to 3 races a year, great, rent
Yeah, but
something.
then don't buy something crappy that's not going to tow well, that you're going to struggle with, and then try to buy a crappy trailer. Somebody that we know. And
Somebody's
then
sitting on the screen. I'm right here, Chrissy.
maybe-
Damn it.
Maybe so. Maybe just rent a truck. Yep.
Yeah.
Which
I-
actually I did the last time I had to actually tow a car. When I went and picked up the Omega, I rented a King Ranch with a built-in brake controller, which was awesome. It was super comfortable. It was very capable. I had an 10-speed transmission, and towing a full-size 70s GM product, I still got like 20s miles per gallon.
I don't know what 20 is, but my tow vehicle. But yeah, I was gonna say the reason I got rid of my Avalanche is because another brake line blew right before the Pittsburgh track weekend, and I rented the Dodge 2500. I think it was 2500 or 3500. I don't remember.
The big Dodge diesel.
It's a giant Dodge diesel, and it was
Big one.
fan-frickin-tastic. And I said, hey, you know what's fun? Not fearing for my life when I tow across the state. And I said, I can no longer, I am old enough and care enough about my life that I am not going to endanger it when I tow. And that's why I got rid of that rusty piece of, I love that truck. Got rid of that rusty
It was
death
super
trap.
rusty, though.
It was
You
super
literally
rusty.
were the only one who loved
Yeah.
that truck.
It's
Oh,
because you
no.
bought it from the Northeast. You can't do that.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I have a very rust-free. Shall we talk about what we bought and
Yes.
why? Let's
Well,
get
yes.
and, yes, and I'm going to just segue it by saying I took Chrissy's advice to heart. I don't tow anymore. So I rent.
And you get to daily drive a Miata because of it. So hell yeah, right?
Right?
Now, by the time if you're using it only for towing a couple times a year, figure out what it costs you to just insurance, parking, basic maintenance a year. And damn if you're not surprised at how it's actually probably cheaper for you to rent. And the best part is you just go give it back and you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's worth something
I
right
think
there.
it was, an average, a good, full-size crew cab pickup. And if you get the luxury one, cost me over a weekend, maybe $600. And if I do that 3 times a year, I'm still coming out ahead.
Totally.
Totally.
Well, okay. So when we bought the Escalade, we were coming out of the Yukon, which was wonderful at towing, no doubt, in that it was chassis was in other forms, like we talked about, was rated to 12,000 pounds. It had the big E range tires on it. I'd kept up with all the maintenance. It was fine. I was frustrated by it when I was driving it on a daily basis, whenever I did, because it was just so truck. And that's not what
And
all the
it
times I'm
felt
just driving it.
so big.
It was ponderous.
You
it
could
was
turn
always
around, you'd be like,
ponderous.
hello.
And while I could
wanted
still
to be
do
a
that
bus-
in the
I
Escalade,
mean, I wanted
it's
to be a
still-
bus driver. I wanted to be like,
Yeah.
can
I
I
would've
pick up
got you the hat.
seven of my friends
Yeah.
and then take them somewhere because
Yeah.
truck is so damn big.
it was a wonderful tool. And when I was daily driving an AMG Mercedes and only driving the truck when I'm in the snow or when I'm hauling or towing something, cool, works, no problem. That was fine. But when I was frustrated by it occasionally going to Pittsburgh, coming up those hills, because third gear was too tall and second gear was too short. And you end up working your way up the hills until you're going in third with the torque converter lock so you don't overheat the trans. And then, you're going and it's fine. And then all right, I just got to go to second. And you get into second and it's screaming along at 4,000 RPM and it'll do it all day.
But you're not
It
going to have a
just-
conversation. It's just like, yeah.
All right, we're just going to get through
when
this hill.
When we get to the top of this hill, we'll keep listening to This American Life. Okay.
basically
Yeah.
that is literally our
Yep.
or turn it up. I can't
Yeah,
hear.
That's the same problem with my RV. Yeah.
That
And
was which transmission was in that thing?
It was a 4L80, so it was a 4-speed heavy duty. So the transmission was going to last forever. The engine's going to last forever. It did fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It was a preference thing. I just got sick of that. Yeah, I just really got sick of it. So because I needed to drive something, I wanted something that was good, nice enough to drive every day, and I can afford to do that and to have something a little nicer. And I want something nicer, so I decided to do it. So then we started looking at stuff that can tow all the trailer. I already gave you all the specs, and I need something big enough to haul all the stuff that Chrissy was talking about. So we're looking at full-size SUVs. I didn't like the Ford ones because it was up until the 17 redesign, it was a chassis that everything that dated back to 08. Like, it was really old. The interior looked it and felt it. It was terrible. So I didn't want any of those. The 17 and up Expeditions and Navigators, they were still asking like real money for. So it wasn't really worth it. And I didn't really like the interiors, and the Fords continued. The Mercedes GL we looked at too. And the Range Rover, I'll glump those together. We looked at a Range Rover long wheelbase supercharged, of which, I mean,
yeah, boy.
right?
Well,
Awesome.
and that's where you say, like, oh, we could just, do we want to have the car that we want to drive? We had hard conversations about this.
Yeah.
These are like, I want to drive that.
I would love a supercharged Land Rover long wheelbase. Like,
Right
that
until you
sounds
had to fill
great.
it full of gas.
Exactly.
Well, it's about the same to all these for the most part. But then the European trucks have very low tongue weight ratings. Like 770 pounds is the standard tongue weight rating on the European trucks.
Yeah.
And so looking at the car, saying, all right, well, I already fill the trailer as to minimize the tongue weight, but I could put the car all the way at the back. Like, I could flip the car around, but just the trailer is designed, it has a fairly heavy tongue weight just by nature, by where the axles are placed in it.
Plus tools.
Right. Plus tools and
the
Scooty.
tools live up there.
So I've got a lot of tongue weight. And it's like, yes, I could solve that problem, or I could go a little over on the tongue weight. Okay, how am I doing on cargo capacity? It was a little tight. But even then I said, all right, let's look at the Escalade. The Escalade had the 1,000-pound tongue weight capacity. Okay, great. We're clear there. But the cargo capacity is like 1,500 pounds. So basically, by the time Chrissy and I are in it with our stuff and the tongue weight, we're basically there. And that's it. And that's with the weight distributing hitch. And so I know I'm about at that capacity, but I felt comfortable enough doing it with this truck because long wheelbase for stability, big enough brakes, giant engine that, I mean, 8 speeds, which is great. I mean, it's really wonderful.
Liter, right?
This is a 6.2.
6.2.
So this has 100 horsepower and 100 more torque than the old 6-liter in the Yukon, and twice the gears.
Yeah.
So in the end, it does a fine job towing. It's not quite as stable as the old one. It is definitely not as stable, but it tows up any hill you want. It doesn't care.
And quietly,
it is
quieter.
It is comfortable and quiet doing it with the ventilated seats. It is a lovely thing to drive when you're not towing. Really, I do not mind it one bit.
It's wonderful
on
really,
a daily driving.
Agreed.
And my fuel economy has almost doubled between the two, which is kind of striking. The Yukon would get 13 completely empty, all highway, 11 on daily driving, and about 8 towing the trailer. The Escalade gets 22 reliably, repeatedly empty on the highway, which is amazing for a 420 horsepower, 7,000-pound brick. It gets 18 in my regular commute, and towing it gets 12 to 13. So huge difference in how it worked out.
So much nicer on the interior. Like, that thing is it's beautiful.
It really is. It's wonderful.
Like,
Well, that's why we got it instead of the Chevy one. Well, first off, you can only get the big engine in the Chevy and the Cadillac and the Denali. And of the two, they're the same price. The interior in the Cadillac was so much nicer. It's like, why wouldn't I buy that one, even though it's blingy looking?
I am just jealous of that. Just soft butter. It's beautiful.
It really is.
So that's how we used all these things we're talking about to come up with the right choice for here. Yes, I would rather have daily driven the Range Rover. Yes, a F-350 diesel would be a better tow vehicle, but for all of our uses, this was the right compromise for us. Jeff, let's hear your story.
So I already mentioned that the Avalanche I was in was going to kill me. It was an Avalanche 2500 with the 8.4 liter Vortex.
Big block.
Big block. It got no gas. I think the gas mileage was started with a decimal point before it had a number. I think it was like 0.7. I don't know. I'm joking. And it was terrible to drive. It had a tow rating of like 12,750, and I loved the bed and I loved the midgate, and I really loved the design of the Avalanche, but it was just way too much truck. And I already mentioned that I'm probably at like 7,508 on my tow. And I really wanted something that was a little smaller and a little better and a little more modern and not so rusty. And what I really wanted was a Tundra. The Tundras are great tow vehicle. Oh, and I wanted a pickup. I'd love a pickup bed. I do use it very frequently to pick things up. Boy Scout trips, all of those things. A bed just makes more sense to me than an SUV for my lifestyle. And so I was really looking at the Tundras, and they were so much money. Toyota Tundras were just out of hand. And actually, Chris said, have you checked out the Titan? And I took Chris's advice and I checked it out, and they are like a little smaller than the Avalanche and things, but just a much nicer interior. I did get an all leather interior, which I wanted because it's easy to clean. How
many times have you cleaned it?
Oh, a lot. I keep it pretty clean.
Yeah,
Well,
just
trust
checking.
me, when you
How many
put
ti-
like
how
12
ti-
Boy Scouts in that
That's true.
thing, they're gonna spill some shit.
Right. I was gonna say,
Mr. Wakeman, I'm not feeling so
Ah,
Right?
good.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, you had to throw him in
It
the bed.
happened, Jaden.
And I'm pretty
Thanks,
sure I
Weather
cleaned
Tech.
it out.
Yeah.
The other half of the times that you've cleaned it out.
Yeah.
Whenever you
So-
show up, I clean it.
Yeah, so it is a 2012 Nissan Titan. It is white. It is the 4X off-road package with the big toe, and it is it's a great truck. I love it. It's a 4.6. I already mentioned it has 9,300 tow capacity, and it had all the options, and it was owned
So
by
5.6, Jeff. I'm pretty sure.
5.6. What did I say?
4.6.
Oh, sorry, 5 points. It's not a Mustang.
He's got 4.8 on the brain. Yeah.
It's not a Mustang. 5.6. Thank you. So it's basically an Armada Titan. They're the same chassis and everything, or similar at least enough. So yeah, I love it. A nice lesbian couple owned it before me. They never trailered anything in it. There was no scratches in the bed. It has like $1,000 like fiberglass paint matched cover on it, which I don't like, but it's too nice to get rid of, so I just curse at it every time I use it. And yeah, it's been fantastic. It probably needs a wheel bearing. And the weakest part of the truck is because the big tow package comes with a gear set, a differential gear set that is high numerically, that it doesn't get great gas mileage driving around. And it accelerates pretty nice, but it doesn't get great gas mileage and can overheat the rear differential. So rear differential, some models had some cooling fins on the diff, and then you put in really good fluid and you make sure you change the fluid, because the rear diff is the weak point. And plastic lines, the transmission cooler has plastic lines, goes into the plastic tanks of the radiator. So you put a transmission cooler, you take it out of the radiator, and you put good fluid, and you change the fluid in the differential, and it's pretty bulletproof, and I like it. So there it is.
All right. So what we're saying is do your research, ask questions, talk to your friends. There is a 90% chance, given the vast demographics of this show, that your tow vehicle is going to outlast your race car, probably more than one of them. We've got a lot of considerations. Don't be afraid to tell us what you tow with, why you chose it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you want to get rid of it? Let us know. Maybe somebody else is looking for what you're trying to sell.
There you go. Chris passed the Yukon off to a team. Give him a shout out, Chris.
Yeah, CISO Racing's got
Oh,
it
yeah.
now. They're doing a great
They
job
sent
with
us
it.
they sent us a social media message,
Yeah.
showed it parked next to the same generation Escalade. It's great.
Yeah, and
It's getting lots of love.
It is. It's still
Nice.
towing Civic hatchbacks to racetracks. They're doing it. They're totally giving it love, and I think he's primarily using it as a tow vehicle. Like I said earlier, it is fantastic. If it's as a tool, it is absolutely wonderful. It's when I had to daily drive it that I said I'm gonna do a little better because I want to, not because I have
Totally.
to, because I want to.
And all they had to do was change the radio station from NPR to the classic hip hop station.
Yeah, pretty much. Rick Ross.
That's Rick Ross. Yeah, Rick Ross is their theme currently. That's great. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else we want to say about tow vehicles before we move on to
You
our
have
final
suggestions?
segment?
If you have
Don't
questions,
really just
suggestions?
don't be like young mental.
Seriously.
Or
No.
young Jeff?
Or
Or
I
young
was going to
Chris.
say
Yeah.
no. I was going to say young Jet. Well, I mean, we could talk
I
about the
towed
Land
everywhere
Rover.
with an XJ Cherokee that I
That's true. Jet.
beefed up the leaf packs by making my own leaf packs.
Oh,
and
isn't
put
that great?
everything in, and
I love
yeah.
I was
doing
going
that.
to interrupt Jeff's story and to talk about Jeff's previous trucks that he bought before he got the
Plural.
Avalanche.
Yeah.
The one that I couldn't get out the door. I drove the truck.
That's
and
the Yukon, because you
I
broke the
had to-
window.
I had to get out the window, I think, and then I dumped.
Because the door lock was broken.
I dumped
Yes.
5 gallons of gas in the back of one
Yes,
of them.
yes.
So you've had some really trashy.
The $75 Chevy, that was a good
Yeah,
one.
Yeah,
you
the
had some
$75
really
Chevy was
bad
great.
ones. So
I
was
never
just-
towed anything with that because
no, but I was
I
talking
got
about.
rid of it for fear of my life before I
Uh-huh.
actually had to put it in. The
I was
truck.
just thinking about laughing to myself about some of your other trucks. So.
Yukon
Yeah.
was fine until the transmission was just
So
not
as we often say, learn from us. Don't skimp on safety gear and don't skimp on your tow vehicle.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you have any
All right.
ideas, have any things that you think we forgot, let us know. That'd be interesting to hear if we are not thinking about something, or if you have a truck that you love and think it would towed really great. Tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a
Chrissy, thank you. I was gonna say yell because I'm doing just a tip. I don't want to yell just a tip and then do
Okay.
just a tip.
Just a tip.
Prepare to
Tell
be
us about-
disappointed.
Yes.
Oh,
I have a story for you all. You ready for
wow.
a story?
We're ready.
Gather
Let's
round,
go.
children.
So gather around, children. I had to go. I mentioned earlier that I didn't go to campus. I went to one of the other campuses because I had a half-day retreat with all of my coworkers. And it's in this town called Hamilton, New Jersey, which is well known for its Mexican and Italian communities. Some of the greatest restaurants and the greatest food is in this town. And because they didn't plan right, it was a half day instead of a full day. And I had nothing on my calendar. So I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get my booster, my COVID booster, before all these kids show up and start coughing on me. But as my way out, I decided I'm going to stop at the Italian market and get myself some fantastic food and load up the refrigerator with some handmade gnocchi and some other things. And I was excited, and I was talking to Jen on the phone, and I was like, I was in the parking lot, and I jumped out to go shop, and I shopped for everything, and I came back outside, and the Veloster was not where I parked it.
No. Oh no.
The look of fear on my
Duh.
coworkers' faces. I left it in neutral, and I did not set the parking brake, and it rolled 25 feet.
Oh my
New Jersey,
God.
thank God, is flat. It hit
supposed-
nothing. It was literally blocking the parking lot, a busy parking lot, and people just kept driving around it.
Nothing.
Ow.
Trying to drive here.
Are
Like,
you
who's this jerk off who put his little blue car in the middle of the goddamn parking lot? And I
Oh,
got there. I was so embarrassed. I was like, everybody was looking at me as I got in. I was like, guess
gotta
I
go.
forgot to set the brake. And I jumped in and I turned it on. I drove the hell out and I thanked my lucky gosh darn stars that I didn't hit a parked car or a guardrail or roll
Or
down
roll
the
into
street.
traffic.
Or roll into You couldn't because there was kind of guardrails everywhere.
Still.
Still. And what if it picked up
s-
speed and went like it was in another? Oh my
Yep.
God.
It like literally just rolled out of the parking spot right into the pathway. Set your parking brake, people. Leave it in
Who
gear, whichever
doesn't
your method is.
Do
Leave it in
one
gear-
of those
both.
or both.
Both.
I
Both.
always did both.
Both. Both. And here's the thing. You all know I drove a DSM. You couldn't leave it in gear or else it shifted like shit and destroyed the fragile transmission. So I've gotten in the habit of leaving it in neutral and putting the parking brake on.
Apparently
And I'm
not.
going to
Apparently,
retrain myself.
I'm holding my
leave it in
hand
gear.
up because
Go ahead.
I know your Miata rolled into my car because you didn't put it in gear.
My Miata?
Yes, it did.
The brown
we were,
one?
Yes.
Which car?
In
I was
Mazda.
we were in bed with the windows open and all I hear is crunch. And I was like, "Oh my God, did that hit my car?" Yes, it did because you didn't put it in gear.
It was
Because
parked on the uphill side of our driveway, and the
Beca- and-
Mazda was
and
on the
the-
downhill side of the driveway.
I think you put the e-brake on, but the e-brake didn't always work. So you didn't put I fortunately it was I think it hit the Mazda.
did,
It didn't make a dent, but I was still pissed at you that your freaking car
I
rolled
didn't
into
even
my
remember
car.
this.
I do because you're ridiculous. So
I
Right
am a
now.
menace.
Right now, Pantless Matt is in flooded California shouting at his radio going, I didn't put the first dent in the car. Jeff did, and I got scared and we got yelled at for it.
No,
When he
I
got
didn't.
T-boned on or he got pushed at NJMP. He was so scared of Chrissy because he didn't want to be the first guy to wreck the Mazda 3, and it was Jeff the whole
Well,
time.
I
That
am
was a
retraining
dent.
myself because I no longer drive a DSM to both leave in gear and set the brake.
You haven't driven a DSM since I've known you.
I know, but when you teach yourself, that's what you do. You met me with the DSM, didn't you?
No, you had already gotten rid of it.
No, because you
onto
met me in
you were the
Fairlawn. I didn't
Protege
get rid of
5.
the DSM until. Oh,
You
I
had the
still
Protege.
had the DSM.
Oh, well,
I
you
just-
never
it
drove
wasn't
at that
running by
point, at
then.
least.
Yeah.
I think he'd
That
already
could've-
moved through the Audi too. Then by then, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, good Lord.
So there it is. Everyone out there,
This is
belt
awful.
and suspenders, leave it in gear, put on the brake. None of you drive stick daily anyway. I'm the only asshole still doing it. Oh, Mental does. That's right. He got the Miata. I forgot about the Miata.
we're also just smarter to not do that.
I do in the summer.
Do both? You don't do both? Oh, what? No,
No,
we
no, and I daily drive
drive
someone
a
with a stick in the summer.
You also put it in gear and or put the e-brake on every time.
In the
What
garage,
gear?
even
What's your preference? What gear?
first.
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 Mental first.
Yeah, unless I'm
Or reverse.
downhill, I will go reverse.
That's
But
what
yes,
I-
it's-
yeah, yeah.
it's-
Always first.
It will always be first for me. That's the way it was. So I'm going to retrain myself.
Apparently you don't do
There's
it
the
well,
just
so
the
there's
tip.
that.
Don't let your car roll into other people's cars.
Holy crap.
Holy shit balls. There it is.
Wow.
All right. Do we
Okay.
have is that a show? I think that's the show.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
show and a half.
Do we have any idea what we're doing next week?
No, but in anticipation of our newest year, 2023, we have already reached out to our good friend Kathy McCaw's Fuss from Lucky Dog, and she has given us 2 contacts of guests that she would like to have come on the show. That's going to happen. Our man Mark from Racing Junk has got some guests that they're going to send our way. We've got Andy Didorowski's going to be on the show from the Detroit Bus Company, Detroit
Nice.
Student Racing Team. Rally Master Jeff is going to come on and talk about the rallies, and Alan Galbraith from the Lemons Concourse is going to come on the show. All these people have already agreed to it. It's too late. You said yes, so we're holding you to it. We're looking forward to having all those folks on there. And if you're interested in coming on the show, get a hold of us because I'm about to have to take some time off from my lovely co-hosts. So a cover letter resume with your broadcast experience.
I
Get a
think
hold
that's
of
more
us.
guests than we've ever had in like 3-4 months. So we're a little filled up on guests right now. But
Yes.
anyway, that sounds great. If you have any questions for all the people that Mental just mentioned, throw it into our social media. Hit us up with an email address. And as always, thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, hit us down there in the doodly-doo with a little commenty thing because that helps the algorithm and then other people watch it.
Caress that like and subscribe
Like
button.
and subscribe. Hit the thumb. Caress it. Touch it. push it. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers. Email us, everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us, 484-243-0455. That is mental. Send them pictures of your junk. Instagram or Twitter, everyone.racers. YouTube, Facebook, Everyone Racers. Reddit, /E1R with all of those great pictures from Mental. He's the only one. I will try and post things on the thing on the /E1R.
On
Thanks
the
again,
thing.
and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless your car's just rolling around, then keep those wheels locked.
Out of traffic. Oh, John.